place this gentleman as we load in. And we start off on 2,000 atmospheres. In the bottom left, he is the Blue Protoss representing Ting and the United States of America. He is Neeb.
And the man that was looking quite smug in that webcam before the game, maybe because he's playing an opponent he didn't think he was going to be going up against, it is Team Liquid's Clem. Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting one, because the score between these two, I mean, massively favoring Neeb, but both of their careers have gone on for quite some time now, but Clem's has really shot off in the last 2 years, and I think anybody, when it comes to these two people, despite what your heart says, Clem's results have just been absolutely phenomenal. Like, he's pretty much the only European, I think at least, that's not missed the season finals yet. And doing that from that region with some of the big dogs that he plays, he kind of is the king of Europe. But Zombrigger was right. When it comes to international play, some of these wild cards can really throw him about a little bit, which is a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, things just get funky because I'm totally with you too. I mean, we're both Terran fanboys, Ben. I don't think that's any secret. Clem is he's the champion for you. If you're a Terran memer out there and you want to see somebody go out, and just kick butt with Marines and Marauders, Clem's your guy. You're not necessarily putting your chips into too many other Terran players' baskets because they're not quite as consistent. You get those flashes from some players, like Marine Lord, who still give you fun games, but he's not winning it all, right? And Clem's the guy that does. So I think that expectation is there for him to come out and bring a great series. But at the same time, you might have said the same of a player like Zest, who Neeb was able to 2-0. So perhaps we'll have something wild happen, but I feel like on paper, Clem should be going into this with just like a macro-focused play where he's just going to beat Neeb down with an endless flurry of punches.
Already a kind of interesting thing from Clem. He didn't run that Marine down the ramp to deal with that probe, he actually hit it. So Neeb is kind of like, okay, the Marine should have been out right now defending that probe, so maybe thinking it's a Reaper. But as we can see, Clem took guys off gas to get this third CC up so damn quickly. And when I look at these two builds going at it, Stargate against 3CC, I'm already like, I kind of like this one for Clem so far.
Yeah, well, it's like, what exactly can you really do if you're not proxying the Stargate, right? Maybe an Oracle flies over, but he's going to have Marines because he has the early reactor like you were talking about. And obviously having 3 orbital commands this early in the game makes losing a couple of SCVs not really that big of a deal either, huh?
No, definitely not. And depending on what Neeb goes for, if he goes for an Oracle, not too bad. But going for Phoenix, that could be one of those things where it's like, damn it, I'm really not going to be able to get too much done here. But it is an Oracle. That is the better choice for Neeb. Maybe not knowingly, but given that a Reaper didn't show up for him either, maybe he's already thinking, there's definitely something a little bit unusual going on. And this Adept, those Marines,
I thought he was going to try and hold the top of the ramp, right?
Yeah, me too.
You want to shade from that high ground if you want the Adept to be able to get through, right? Assuming that the supply depots are down, you can't cast it from too much further than that position, but he will, I guess, a little bit of a break, gets to see where those Marines are, but I don't know that that shade really tells him too much, does it?
No, nothing at all, really. Just that he did go for the Marine opening and doesn't see the 3 racks follow-up behind it. Clem's one of the guys that really advocates for this, by the way. Like a lot of other Terrans, when they try and go 3CC, they might try and get a factory up here and there and what have you. But Clem, ever since the Romanticide days, this has been one of his bread and butter builds he really likes. His Oracle so far, getting an SCV, getting the Scout, most importantly, so he knows absolutely what he's up against. He's like, okay, third Nexus immediately. I'm going to be safe for at least some time.
And we have the third Nexus booting up for Neeb. He's realizing, okay, I'm kind of already going to need to be playing a little bit of catch up, right? When we talk about what happens in PvT early on. Now there is the engineering bay. The Marines are on the other side of the command center, so might still be able to grab a couple of SCVs to kill him. But typically you see the Protoss play, right? You use those chrono boosts. You don't have to stop to build the orbital. You're supposed to get a decent little probe lead, and then the mules kind of make up for that. But having the third command center can really let Clem kind of, erase that advantage, so to speak, that Neeb should be able to get from the way that this matchup is supposed to work. But that Oracle is going to do its best to cull that economic growth. But that early +1 attack too, like this is going to line up really nicely. You should have quite a few bio units when those first medevacs are coming.
Yeah, right now, Clem doesn't really know what Neeb's doing behind this, and what he is doing is Phoenix, the Fast Forge, the Twilight Council, played ultra greedy with all gases up as well on those 2 bases. The 3rd's almost done, and now he's getting heads up on what Clem's plan of action is, and I'm not sure what Clem, or rather Neeb, has back at home, but this is a scary squad of Marines.
Yeah, he's got a couple shield batteries being made. He's researching charge, getting +1. A few of these Marines separate from the pack, and they will be killed, but I mean, unless he were to stem at right now, which he can't, it's not done yet. I don't think he has a way to get in here and harass this 3rd before the shield battery is complete. So he should need to just back off for a little bit. The starport is done. It's finishing up right now, so he'll be able to swap that on, get the medevacs out. Because it's like, if moving with that many Marines, if he waits even a little bit longer for that defensive setup of the shield batteries, just a couple of Phoenix and unblinked Stalkers aren't going to do anything to defend you.
You know, I've actually liked everything Neeb's done this game. Like, even though the build order choice, like, you make this choice without knowing really what you're up against, but everything else that Neeb's done, he hasn't flown across the map. He killed a few of these units, these Marines specifically, with his Phoenix, getting up. Oh, that was close. And that mule. Oh, 2 mules. That's unfortunate for Neeb. I really think Neeb's playing really well so far.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurts a bit with what we just saw there, having the 2 fresh mules barely survive. But I do agree with you. He's managed to kind of do what he needs to, right? Get the 3rd base up as fast as possible. He has the opener that isn't necessarily strong against bio with all the Phoenix, but now if he, with the charge and +1, is able to get a decent fight, he shouldn't be able to run away with the medevacs, right?
No, I don't think so, but this is a scary squad of bio here, Nate.
It's a lot of Marines.
That's a few Stalkers, the Sentries. I mean, I'm not sure what these Phoenix can get done. I don't know what he's going to lift up even, but Neeb, this is a real crucial point for him staying alive.
Now, Revelation tag goes down, throws a couple force fields, not going to do too much other than just keep him away for a short moment. A few more Zealots get added, a couple of extra gateways are finishing, so that production is slowly ramping up for the American Protoss, as he's also adding in that Immortal. But back home, we talk about what makes Clem so good. He doesn't miss a beat while he's out on the map and trying to get in your face. The armory's going in, his +1 armor is almost done, 2nd engineering bay, and he's getting into that Widow Mine production, which, as we know, these Zealots can end up struggling against that big time if these mines are able to get a couple juicy shots. Force fields are going to peel off a few of the Marines on the front. One of those mines did detonate as well, but he needs to make sure he doesn't overextend to Muslim because, like we were talking about, those Phoenix, losing medevacs on the tail end of this would be really rough.
Yeah, I mean, Neeb, like, he has nothing to hold him there besides those force fields. And right now, look how Clem's microing here. It's just absolutely beautiful. Shaving off the Zealots, and now the battery overcharge is popped here, but Phoenix gets sniped as well. I mean, Clem, you can't touch this army. You can't. Neeb has to get out of there, and that overcharge is almost done, and the fight hasn't even really started here. I think Clem is handling this beautifully.
Yeah, he's still been shaving off a few Marines at a time to the point where you're hoping that getting those extra Immortals in to deal with these Marauders can open up a little bit more of this. But it's like you were talking about. He doesn't have any way to hold him there. So as long as Clem keeps just poking and prodding, dancing him to the other side, the Adepts maybe want to try to pull the Widow Mine shots, but they hit a lot of the Zealots, and that's a huge amount of the damage that gets taken out. The Force Fields are trying to hold, lifting up a ton of the Marauders so the Stalkers and Immortals can do their thing. And well, Clem just barely gonna step back a little bit further. The Immortals really trying to hold it down. I guess the Phoenix removing the Marauders is what allows those Stalkers to do their thing, but I mean, the mines absolutely obliterated the Zealots, and 9 probes die on the tail end of that too. Yeah, Widow Mine drop.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I saw that probe count dropping, I was like, this isn't good. Like, this fight, even though Neeb kind of holds, it's like, to what end? Like, he's 40 supply behind here. Clem has a superior economy. 2-2 on the way for Clem behind all this. A CC as well, ready for a 4th base. I mean, Clem, he's on fire this game thus far.
Yeah, just the way that he trimmed the fat on the Zealot count as much as he did. He doesn't have those AoE power units. The Immortals are great, but they're not going to stand tall against a huge, overwhelming amount of bio. And the Zealots, as much as they're known for being like that fodder, tanky unit, they've definitely been struggling to make that impact as they've mostly just been getting blown up by those mines that we were talking about. And he's got 2 Robos. He's got the Robo Bay, but he's just now getting that 1 Colossus. And I don't think he has extended thermal lance either, so it's not going to be an easy fight. He just now boots it up. But Clem, he's on 4 bases. He's getting his Ghost Academy. His 2-2 is almost done. And we're really just kind of seeing that speed and tenaciousness coming out of the French Terran player.
Yeah, and like Colossus are great, but this is going to be 2-2 Marauders, Nate. And I don't know what the Marauder count is at right now, but it's already getting pretty scary. 13 on the field. I mean, Clem's army is just getting bigger, better, stronger, and it's very mobile as well. And Neeb, so far, like, he has to take a 4th base, like, right here, right now, to stay in this game. But look at Clem. He's just not going to allow it at all. And that, the Colossus.
Oh, no. Well, that certainly doesn't help. Mine's continuing to obliterate that 3rd base mineral line. And like we were talking about, the Thermal Lance, he was trying to chase at those Zealots earlier. The Colossus is there, but it just couldn't shoot. Doesn't have the range upgrade. He's missing the most important part of this, and just now going into Blink 2, this it feels like we're watching like one of those speedster type fighters just going in circles around Neeb, and he's trying to reach out and grab him, but he just can't get a hold of him.
No, and I mean, this army, it's 1 Colossus down. That's massive AoE potential just gone. And look at Clem's Micron as well, taking out all the Zealots. That is a squishy Protoss army there. And the 2... Oh, what's stuck in his natural? Quite a few units over there as well.
How did that happen? All the Stalkers kind of derping up. They can't get past where those robotics facilities are. And I think the most important thing that you pointed out to Muslim is that Neeb really needs to get a 4th base. And for Clem, he doesn't have to force the issue as long as Neeb is on just 3. He can chill, sit back, kind of peel off the units that chase, like you were saying. But there's no pressure on him to force the game-ending fight, as it were. He can continue to add to his production. He can continue to take additional bases. Neeb has failed to find an opportunity to go across the map since that first Oracle went out. And even more insult to injury, 7 probes blown up by the Widowmine drop on the 3rd again.
This has really been something for Clem in his TVPs today, like constantly baiting with the army, doing these little fights where he's training efficiently while doing something else. So Raven harass in the first series against Cyan, and here doing the Widowmine drops simultaneously. Look at that production tab as well. Fusion core on the way, 3-3, multiple CC sensor tower. You shouldn't be able to get away with this with a 3CC build. Like, he's the one being aggressive with all this, and he's looking phenomenal.
It is really funny to think back to that. It was Clem doing the absurdly greedy build. But when you get away with that, especially the Stargate opening, which may end up coming back to just haunt Neeb when we talk about what else could have been done, he went for the option that gave him the least ability to punish the strategy that Clem did. And once Clem gets into a rhythm, this is what you typically see. He's got everything. He's not only on the map all game, constantly attacking, but everything that he could possibly need has been gotten back at home. +2 ship weapons is coming in. He's got a fusion core with extra starports. Now these disruptors could get a couple of big shots, hit some of the Ghosts and Marines and Marauders. That's a nice grab for Neeb. He's gonna need a few more of those because, like we were talking about, that 4th base is a big question mark. He did start a Nexus in the bottom right corner. He's hoping that Clem just won't walk around this area and he'll think, okay, he's just on 3 bases. But I mean, at some point, Clem is going to send units to those corners to take a look-see.
I mean, these disruptors, that's the kind of move Neeb needed to get back into this game. Yeah, a couple of them died, but what a way to crack it out. And now he can get out on the map a little bit, and that is what you want, because we see Liberators already on the way with their range upgrade, the +2 as well, which is pivotal, meaning they then 2-shot Stalkers, even 1-shotting after you EMP. So this army of Clem, 3-3 is done for the buyer as well. It's a really scary period of time for Neeb. Like, it doesn't get much better for the Terran.
Yeah, at some point there's going to be enough Liberators too that, as you were saying, with the +2 2-shotting the Stalkers, he's not going to be able to try and punch through even with a big blink underneath. So it puts a bit of a clock on this kind of army for the Protoss player, as you're like, okay, do I need to get Tempests or just be trying to use Prisms to pull them around? But getting stuck in a straight-up fight can end up becoming the worst thing possible. And obviously, Liberator Harass is still pretty good too to Muslim.
It is still pretty damn good. And Clem right now, he thinks he's against a 3-base Protoss, and I mean, he basically is. Like, it's 55 probes for him. Like, Clem, his economy, he's absolutely stacked here. And +2 is now done. The cloak upgrade for the Ghost as well, and Neeb, even on 3 bases, just getting torn apart.
Now, EMPs, the Nexus and shield batteries, able to rip that apart. No problemo. Focused down the overcharged battery, and there are those +2 Liberators sieging up. Yeah, you're going to try and push through this, Neeb. Good disruptor shot. But attacking into this can still be absolutely devastating. The Colossi are picked off. A decent number of Stalkers. get poked as they do take out those Liberators, but he's building 5 at a time and still has another force counter-harassing scans as DTs are warped in, so Neeb does not get to use those on the hold side. Meanwhile, the main army, the backside, has been pushed, but he's got a lot to go through because Clem's on, I think he's at 5 or 6 bases at the moment.
I mean, starting a base trade now, it kind of feels like Neeb's only option, but I mean, 8 Liberators at a time? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, good luck pushing through a bunch of Liberators sieging on a tight choke point like this.
And I mean, +2, and look at the EMPs and all the Stalkers. I don't know how many Stalkers are here, but they are not going to last long. And Clem is back home, ready to deal with these as well. That's +3 attack against +2 armor only, but shields are absolutely gone. And Neeb, I think this is it for him.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to be. He had the opportunity, of course, to attack the peripheral bases, but he's never been able to get to that good economic position where he can play this out the way that he wants to, and he's going to tap out for game 1. Clem goes up 1-0, and gotta be feeling good about that one to Muslim. I mean, you can't really ask for more than that. He got to do the build he wanted to do. He executed it flawlessly, I think we can agree, and yeah, pretty much everything that he needed. Once those medevacs came out, he never took his foot off the gas pedal, and Neeb was never comfortable for a single moment past that point.
No, not at all. Neeb was never comfortable in that game. Like, seeing what he was up against, and he'd already started Phoenix production, it's like, do I stop now? And it's kind of like, if you have one Phoenix on the field, it's absolutely useless. So, like, he was kind of behind on the build order choice, and I mean, that's to no fault of his own, really. But then Clem, he just, didn't make a mistake, really. I liked all the moves Neeb was doing early on, despite the kind of build order choice, but yeah, the way that Clem works it, like, he's actually been switching it up quite a bit. Like, very often he'll stay on the 1-1 for a long time, get the ghosts out very quickly, but this game he knew he had the time, he had the money, and I can't believe he was putting on this much aggression while expanding and just growing behind it all. Like, his +1 on air weapons started so damn early. By the time the Liberators were out, they're already as good as they were ever going to be, and yeah, just wonderful play. And despite this disruptor hits, which
I mean, this was pretty much the only positive thing to write home about for Neeb in the whole game. He got a couple of nice disruptor shots, but beyond that, he was forced into this kind of base trade situation. He was never able to get that economy up, and it's just so crazy because we talk about how easy it can be to overextend, right? And you get caught by a couple force fields, or that first disruptor comes out earlier than you're ready for, or a prism, right?
Yeah.
Something Neeb needs to have some way to make Clem run home or make his transition into the AoE fast enough that he can't just be camped outside the third like that by the bio. Because, he had the charge slots in the Immortals, but the bio is not really worried about that kind of army composition.
No, and this is something we see from Clem's TVP specifically. Like, he takes these engagements with his bio ball not to sit there and fight. It's always like, okay, as soon as you start running at me, I'm already running away. And like, really look out for that. Like, he's always ready to run away from the fight and just pick off units. And it's so frustrating as a Protoss because you either have to super commit, blink on him and really get going, and that's costly because you have to know decisively whether you're super ahead, or you're just going to constantly lose out units. And Clem, he's absolutely one of the best at that.
Yeah, he bled out at least like 2 or 3 zealots.
Every fight.
At first, I was like, okay, I don't think this is too bad. He had the overcharge, still had the batteries, but then he pokes once, two zealots are dead. Pokes again, just another 2, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, he only has Stalkers and Immortals now.
And then it's like, oh, now there's Widowmine drops happening in the main and the natural, and it's like, you're doing all this at the same time. Like, it's so hard to hold as a Protoss, because at that point in time, so many Protosses have freedom to take their 4th, and they're like, they're on the map, they're doing their thing. Yes, a 2-base push can come along, but this was literally a 3CC build, and he got away with that. Like, it really is something. Anyhow, getting into the second game of the series, it will be on Hardwire here, spawning over in the top right-hand side. It is Liquid Clam.
Liquid Clam, my favorite. And in the bottom left, we have the blue Protoss player representing Ting. He is Neeb.
Yeah, Clem's so scary, man. Like, the fact that he can do all these gas first builds and Hellion drop stuff, but then he can just go, hey, wait a minute, I can also go for a 3CC build, pull it off beautifully. And if you're wondering at home, like, okay, what is a good build against that then? If you go up against any sort of Colossus drop, well, you're definitely in trouble. Like, it's a really good build against any of these bio openings, but that's obviously super risky because it's not that good against almost anything else. So yeah, in the early game, it can be a little bit of a gamble, a bit of a coin flip as to what you're going for. For the Protoss, you really need to find out what you're up against immediately.
Yeah, a more tech-oriented response, right? There's something. And the Stargate feels like such a nice build just because you have the flexibility with the Oracle, scouting, harass, etc. But if your opponent has enough economy that killing a few workers doesn't matter to them, and you don't really have like any kill potential, so to speak.
No, yeah, and it kind of all stemmed from him hiding his first Marine. He hid his first unit, and it all looked like it was going to be a Reaper opening. It really did. And the fact that he hid that Marine as he did, just very smart play from Clem. Like, he makes it look so easy, which it's absolutely not. Like, you could be looking at it thinking, like, Neeb, you should have known. It's like, no, because look at this. This is so far exactly the same thing that he's showing, but a completely different opening already from the Frenchman.
Yeah, instead of going for the immediate reactor, saves that gas to get the factory up first. And now, as he goes into that, he could still be saving his gas to possibly go into a starport, do something with reactored Marines and a couple mines. Could be swapping out for reactored Hellion or even reactor Widowmine. I mean, we've already seen in this season finals the Widowmine rush into the Thor rush. So nothing is really off the table in this matchup anymore.
Yeah, you might be wondering why Neeb was keeping those probes there. Didn't know if he was against a Reaper because he didn't get to see the Marine, so he didn't want to lose them. But he also didn't want to stick them on the minerals because if they're on there just for a short period of time, they kind of mess up a bit of the pathing of the other probes, and you can actually lose a little bit of mining momentarily. So yeah, but this game already, as we see, a couple of Marines on the way, a single Hellion as well for now. Most likely just a bit of a scouting Hellion because, yeah, Clem, if we look at his vision, I think he didn't even SCV scout, and he's just playing totally blind here.
So he definitely wants to have some idea of what is going on. Maybe could have been an opportunity for Neeb to try to be aggressive this game. Not that that would have guaranteed anything, of course, but it is the Oracle one more time. And I guess against a more tech-focused build, having that quick across the map to be able to see what's going on is going to be a lot more valuable than it was in the first game.
Yeah, like this is already a nicer opening for Neeb when it comes to build order versus build order. What Clem's done is very standard. This used to be like a Reaper opening kind of build where you do end up going this afterwards, but just skipping that step, getting out the factory a little bit quicker. Now going for his second barracks. Clem is one of the guys that does tend to do kind of a little bit of a 2-on-1 thing, getting the third racks much later, but I'm very curious what he's going to follow this all up with, because normally it's a Widowmine drop, and here he is with a few Marines and defending with the Widowmines.
And that medevac flies out right outside the vision of the Oracle. He's going to come in. I think you can probably tell these pro gamers to Muslim. They've got a good eye for where those Widowmines are burrowed. There's a little spot in the ground that you can see. So you always need to be cautious about where you're flying, and he's more than fine for that. He's going to try to unload. Getting all of the Marines out at once is going to be nice, because the Phoenix on its own doesn't really have too much power against this. The Adepts have to shade in, and I feel like if he just targets down probes, he can generate some pretty crazy value, even if everything here dies.
Yeah, and I mean, everything here will die, but 5 probes, I mean, almost. If it was 6, it would have definitely been worth it, but right now, I mean...
It's like a...
Neeb's not too unhappy with it, actually. I don't think so, and the third racks does start up, but it's, a little bit later for him, and yeah, I think so far, Neeb looks at this, he's like, well, I got a couple of SCVs with the Oracle, it's still alive, got a couple of Phoenix now as well, and look at that third base. It's actually super close to finishing. Like, Neeb's already far more comfortable this game.
Yeah, the pacing feels a lot better than the first game in terms of just being able to get that set up. And on the other hand, he also doesn't have to worry about Clem having this crazy economic spike, since he didn't go for the third CC build either. And it could end up turning into a big 2-base bio push, but that also means it's going to be less units outside of his third compared to the first game too. So I have to agree with you there. It's a much more comfortable position for the Protoss.
Yeah, I guess like one thing for that drop as well, if we don't look at just the eco damage, it did get confirmation on what he was going afterwards with the Phoenix.
Right.
And Neeb, I'm not going to say he's predictable because he's not at all, but if you do have something that you tend to like in a matchup that maybe you're not super confident in, and I mean, this Phoenix stuff is very good when you can get going with it, but yeah, I think that was also good info. This is very nice for Neeb, but well handled by Clem.
Say, if he kills those mines, that is huge. Barely does get away without losing any of the Phoenix, but would have been a nice grab to be able to have. But this is what we were talking about, right? It's having some level of pressure, too, where Clem can't just move across the map with impunity. he has to leave some consideration that units that are in the backside or that get rallied forward could get picked off. Instead of SCV coming over here, he's like, are you just going to try to build a base right in my face? He's like, no. So a couple of Marines that come out here might be able to grab, could go for some mules. In worst case scenario, you just run back home. But charge and +1 are almost done. He's got a ton of gateways booting up too, so I think he's feeling a little bit better about his chances at defending the attack this time.
Yeah, it comes down to the same situation. As long as Neeb doesn't die to this push, he's actually looking great. That stasis, is it a bait? It's a beautiful bait. That buys him so much time, because like we look at the supply. That's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah, well, and things take a turn for the worse for our Protoss player. He's going to try and grab the Z-Bio and mines, and this can definitely help make up for what he just lost if he's able to pick all of this up without losing too much. But the medevac swoops in. There's not really anti-air available with this, so he actually does save a nice chunk of that bio. And well, if there's one thing that we know about Clem, he can definitely micro decently against those zealots in the open field. He was, those insane trades he took in the first game. And suddenly, the biggest thing for Neeb is that Clem still, he's had to take some time to get this third base up. He's not as much of an economic powerhouse as the first map, but the probes getting blown up by those mines definitely put a little bit of a damper on his power level.
Yeah, I still like Neeb's position in this game, and if not for those 10 probes dying, I'd have loved it for him. He has to be careful though, because Clem's army is actually deceivingly strong, especially if these zealots clump up. But if these Phoenix, if he does actually go for a fight here and gets lift-ups on those Widow Mines, his army's super strong against Clem's.
And he does have the Prism, too, so the possibility here of him trying to force it or just make a big play is definitely there. Perhaps maybe running into a little bit of a supply block. 3 pylons are coming in. This Archon morph is going to cap him for a short period of time. There is the Guardian Shield. Some of the mines that you were talking about, not burrowed. One does try, a second goes through. We have a little bit of liftoff action. Some of those units in the back need to get told to move forward, though. Has to be careful around these choke points. Clem is just going to retreat further inside of his own base. Kind of crazy. He's just saying, okay, let's play the main base ramp. Don't go to my third base. Don't go for those workers. I think splitting off a few zealots to that mineral line might be a nice move to make, however, during this fight.
And he's doing exactly what he thought about Nate, and he's going for it, and now Neeb, he's kind of playing here. He's like, okay, I can deal a lot of economic damage here, but does he have enough to take on this army? He can't get stuck in a back and forth. That stasis, though, Clem sees it in the nick of time here, but this is dicey for Neeb, because does he need to do this? Does he need to be here? I don't think so, and I think he should get back at this point.
Yeah, the third base, he forced the liftoff. He killed a ton of the workers there. Maybe that's where you say, okay, I have to be getting something else out, but I do have to ask, I didn't really see too much other tech get dropped behind all of this to muzzle. Of course, he has the High Templar he can make Archons out of, but did we even get Storm research during all of this? He's still just turning them straight into the Archons? No. So he doesn't have that AoE, and if that economy is able to kick in for Clem and gets that big bio ball, especially with Ghosts now for the Archons, it's going to be really hard for Neeb to actually fight this army.
Absolutely, and that Phoenix count, it got absolutely butchered in these fights. He's still trying to rebuild him, by the way, so it wasn't something that he wanted to lose, because that's kind of his only true answer to these Widow Mines, despite, or regardless of splitting. But now Ghosts are on the field, and those EMPs against this, that army just turns into butter against that bio, and look how many more Ghosts he's making. I think Clem's just kind of saying to himself, all right, I'm not in the best shape, but my army, if I can get those 3 extra Ghosts out, yeah, I'm just going to absolutely murder you.
EMPs on Charge Lot Archon. It's a bad day. Bad day to be on the receiving end of that shower, and the Oracle almost gets picked off. Nice little counterattack play. This is what we want to see. We talked about last game how Neeb was not able to get the counter harass, was not able to pull the attention of Clem, but he's got enough coming out to deal with this, so he still will have to stop this main army. The Revelation on the mines, of course, will help a little bit, as that armory is going to keep them cloaked after they fire. Then he gets another good Revelation across the whole thing. But you don't want to run into that choke point still. You want to let the Terran, hey, if you want to push in to where all these shield batteries are covering my army, go for it. Otherwise, just chill, sit back, get those Colossi out that he wasn't able to use last game.
Yeah, if we're looking at that production tab, that is a big deal for those big upgrades and big units out for Neeb, and Clem's kind of forcing him into a fight that he doesn't want to take here, and the Widow Mines do get some juicy hits, but more Zealot run-bys doing damage here, really slowing down Clem's attack, because Neeb just needs time, and he's trying to buy it with those Zealots.
Yeah, the Zealot's kind of derping around a little bit back there, but having that Warp Prism is absolutely huge. Trying to get in on one of the Archons. Stasis Trap's going to pull a few of these units. The Phoenix are going to drag the fire over the bio, getting at least some of the mines on cooldown.
Oh, but the EMPs are big, Nate. They're absolutely big. The Widow Mines, not even all of them are fired yet. And we can't forget, these Ghosts deal incredible damage to these Zealots as well, given the light on. But Big Daddy Colossus is out. Can Neeb hold? But the Widow Mines, fireworks go off, butchering that army, absolutely blitzing it apart. And Clem, I don't know how he's done this, despite being under the pressure and dealing the pressure, but 2-2, very close to being done here.
That's going to be a gnarly upgrade to have set up. The Zealots being tanky, right? The priority, the focus on those armor upgrades was really nice for Neeb to keep his army durable and strong. Once those get offset, though, the bio becomes a whole lot more difficult to deal with. Leaving the bio with 9 health is close. Drop one guy, see if he can get it, Ben, maybe?
I mean, like it's one of those things.
Send in the Rambo Marine.
Yeah, I don't know how many Phoenix are still alive. It feels like he's killed so many Phoenix this game. Actually, yeah, they're all dead. Is that like 8, 9 that have died this game? That's a massive number. And the resources lost.
11.
Look how well Clem's been traded in this
69
game.
Zealots, too. Huge trades.
Huge, yeah. 69, beautiful number. 22 Widow Mines going down as well. Like,
not cheap either.
No, and we look at the supplies of both these players. Still pretty close, but I'm looking at the tech that Neeb's getting behind all this, despite being pretty far behind in upgrades now. DTs, Colossus on the way, also Disruptors. This is a closer game between these two.
Yeah, it's been a whole different dynamic. Neeb's finally been able to draw some blood. He's been able to get the counter harass going. We've seen good use of the prisms, good use of those Zealot run-bys. He doesn't have presently anything that we can see that he could use to pull this one back. So there goes a few outside the bottom right. A couple Zealots will try to make their way over to the third. Observer flying close to the army. So he knows he has a good idea of where this force is. The Colossus does have range, by the way. So will be a lot more effective at going against these guys. 2 of the mines are going to blow up. So it's just 2 Zealots. A little bit bruised, fighting next to the missile turret.
Absolutely, and this feels like a deja vu from a few moments ago. And Clem's, okay, the goals of these players, it's really important. Neeb wants a 4th. He needs to take a 4th, unless he's doing some crazy attack off just 3 bases. And Clem, he's like, okay. My win condition is denying this 4th for as long as possible, just kind of starving you out, keeping you to this kind of basic army while I'm getting ahead in upgrades. So really look out for how Clem tries to control the map and keep Neeb away now. It's a total flip in direction of the game and what we're going to see.
And Neeb using Dark Templar on the right side too, so he's going to level up a little bit from just those Zealots. And look at this, EMPs the Nexus, runs in, just right-clicks directly onto it, blows that Nexus to smithereens. And we were talking about Neeb needing to get that 4th base. All of a sudden, he's down to just 2 mining bases, and we know that main is getting mined out by this 15-minute mark. Very little resources left. And the units that went for that counterattack, he had a turret there. He still had the mines, still had some bio that was chilling. He's just been rallying his forces to that base, so not able to find that counterattack damage anymore. And you can feel the pressure starting to mount on the American Protoss. He needs to make something happen. There's not, I mean, his army is good, but he's been in this kind of awkward spot, losing on the economic side.
Yeah, and like you can really see it, right? Like Neeb, he doesn't look to take an engagement. He looks to make you chase him, running away, really utilizing the speed and the mobility of this bio. Because that Armada Disruptors, it's still scary, but we talked about Neeb wanting a 4th base. Well, now we had to double expand just to get to that 4th base situation. Soon, it's going to be 3-3 against 1-2. It's getting super scary for Neeb, and the Vikings as well they'll absolutely rinse these Colossi.
Yeah, I mean, Clem plays StarCraft like he's got a co-pilot in there or something, man, because he's able to micro his whole entire army while getting everything done back home, does not miss a beat, does not forget any upgrades. He's just completely on the ball. This massive, or increasingly massive, disruptor count, though, has to be the saving grace potentially for Neeb, and he actually catches Clem off guard, gets a couple of huge Novas, and takes the supply lead. Talk about chunking an army to Muslim. If there's any way to get yourself back into a StarCraft game, that has to be it.
Do we have a battle report from that moment? That was ridiculous. 15 Marines, 6 Marauders, 2 Ghosts. I mean,
oof.
That was free. Literally free.
beautiful, as they say.
Yeah, and you can see Clem, he was definitely disappointed with what happened. And now Neeb, like, his army's looking strong, but he has to be careful. Look at that beautiful positioning on these Vikings. Oh, the Stalks as well. Great positioning by Clem and totally taking advantage of Neeb just being a little bit out of position here. But still, it's going to be trades on both sides. That is a lot of Vikings just absolutely blitzing those Colossi.
And now he's able to, as that Colossus count gets thinned out, we see 4 Liberators being made at a time. He's getting the EMP upgrade. 3-3 is done. And of course, that +2, which makes those Liberators so much more difficult to deal with. I don't think we have a Fusion Core on the table just yet as far as range goes, but it may not end up being a huge deal as he's got plenty to protect and shepherd those forces. Yeah, no Fusion Core, but he's fine. He's got pretty much everything else he could possibly need at this point.
Okay, I think Clem's been really smart here. He's like, okay, that army doesn't actually have a lot of Stalkers, so if this does turn into a base trade, which is kind of likely, yeah, he knows it. GG is called. Neeb knows that he can't